The only thing I'm 100% convinced of is that we got a third match of Hearthstone that's coming. And so that's what we're heading into right now. Bunnyhopor taking on BoarControl in this one. BoarControl, major turnaround from his Season 1. He sits at a 4-2 record right now. And you can see below that Divine Shield that's around one of the classes. That's the Protect class that's come into play. It was ineligible to be banned during that point. And so for BoarControl, he's protected his Priest. For Bunnyhopor, he's protected his Druid in this week. And he's had his Priest banned away as a result.
Ooh.
And BoarControl has had his Paladin banned away. So a really big mix-up that's coming to this matchup from the standard variant that we've been seeing. Bunnyhopor's running with Quest Priest in this week, and he's included Chef Nomi, King Ferris, and Elise the Enlightened to try to fight the end game battle where the value is concerned. Also a second copy of the Power of the Wild to be able to fight some early game stuff here. So I'm pretty interested in this one. BoarControl also has Reno Mage on his side, which last week the only Reno Mage that we saw was getting banned away on Pavel.
Yep.
And so this week it's optional to be played. I'm curious to see if it's going to come into effect in this session.
And also, BoarControl is now our debut of the Malagos Druid on his side, which means there is a few potential real spicy matchups to come up here. I wonder whether that Malagos Druid has any influence on, you know, Bunnyhopor moving to a Protect Druid strategy than the kind of vanilla Protect Priest. We'll confess that, like, the Druid Mirror is not a matchup we tested yesterday while we were testing particular things with Malagos Druid. When I say Druid Mirror, Malagos Druid versus Vanilla Quest Druid is not something that we tested extensively, so wonder what the feelings on that matchup are in particular.
Yeah, I'd be curious to find out. Either way, BoarControl is going with the standard. Open up with Priest and Bunnyhopor. You know what? I just don't think anything outside of Warrior he had a good matchup with, and so take the risk.
Yeah. And still, like, there's a lot of disagreement on that Warrior Priest matchup. You heard Pavel there saying, you know, I think you're still unfavored against Warrior even with Bomb SAMD in your deck. There's people who go completely opposite. Like, no, this is not, nothing beats Priest. Like, Priest is still favored against Warrior, and there's some people that are like, yeah, Warrior is like one of the best matchups, but it's still like 50-50. Where the truth is, I don't know. We need a bigger sample size. We need a bigger sample size of like top-level Hearthstone games to find out, because I think right now, stat tracking and like stat aggregation and all these things are kind of at the lowest point they've been at in a very long time. Firstly, because there is actually a huge skill edge in a lot of decks right now, right? Which means better players will mutate the stats to different positions. I don't know why I said, I was just looking at the card mutate and that word came out of my mouth.
That's exactly why you said it. I think it's accurate.
Yeah, better players will, you know, improve win rate over like what the average player will have. But then secondly, because so much of the top level play has been condensed into just Grandmasters, and that there aren't, you know, 500 of the world's best players just constantly jamming ladder, trying to get that rank 1 finish, just throwing huge amounts of data into that pool. So I think the private testing that these players do amongst themselves has actually become more and more valuable. Because players like BoarControl, who used to be so stats focused, you'd hear him say the words HS replay every third and fourth word when he talked about Hearthstone. Now these days, I don't really think he has that to rely on. He does have to do more private testing.
Yeah, I've always personally disagreed with stat aggregation and truth of it. I think it's been a good guideline, and I think that's a great starting point. I think it has a lot of value in that starting point in exploration, but I think that diminishes when you talk about A, just a single tech card in a deck, which can drastically change a matchup, and then B, skill edge. I think that some of the decks in past have not had that skill edge. I think the decks right now have a massive amount of it. There's a lot of tiny things to do that can drastically change a matchup. And kind of talking specifically about that, Bomb SAMD is one of those cards.
Of course it's the right way.
So here, Shum versus Priest, and Bunny does have the Mogu Mutate combo, which is one of the go-to ways where you can actually fight back in what is generally a pretty terrible matchup for the Shaman.
Well, Boar early has an interesting looking hand. If there's someone I expect to get the micro stuff right, it's definitely BoarControl.
I wonder.
I've got more left in me. I think this checks all the boxes for me. Number 1, get stuff in play.
Yep.
Number 2, gives you the highest potential to draw a game-winning card. Number 3, sets up for the following turn.
Yep. Nephset Ritualist off the top, Cleric off the top, Circle of Healing off the top. All of those things are wonderful with the way Boar's set up. He still knows that Mogu Flesh Shaper costs 4 currently. The only way you can really manipulate that is with Faceless Lackey, which Boar knows is not in his opponent's hand. There's no lackey being generated yet.
Microtech controller would be the perfect card here.
What?
Put 3 extra minions in play, right? Oh, no.
And then you'd have 0 mana.
Dang it.
Nice try.
You could mutate the Microtech controller.
Sick.
All right, so Wisp and Microtech controller.
There
Perfect
you go.
cards here.
Now he's found it.
There's little time.
I mean, they'd be quite perfect.
One day you just play as Zephyrus. It's like, Wisp Microtech controller.
He's like, yeah, that's right.
Whoa, do you think you can ever get a Wisp?
No, I don't. Doesn't take into account your hand. What if you had a knife juggler and it was 50-50 to clear or lethal?
I wonder.
All right, let's set that up later. That's what I want to test.
Would it recognize Wisp lethal if you just had a juggler and they're at 1 health? Probably, right?
I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to set it up later.
All right.
And then I want to set it up with 1 health in place, the 50-50 clear minion or lethal.
Okay.
I want to find out if you can get Wisp from Zephyrus.
The fact that none of those key cards we mentioned were drawn here from BoarControl has just slowed this hand down a little bit.
Yeah, he seems like he's a bit sheepish on the play, and understandably so. Like, you really don't want a Divine Spirit here, but honestly, to me, it looks so good.
Whoa, really? What are you Divine Spiriting?
I was just going to bolster this up in Divine Spirit. Like,
Are you going to Psychic it and then Divine Spirit?
the Shaman just doesn't really have a way to answer that kind of stuff.
I mean, I guess. It's just like a freaking 2-mana Power Word shield that doesn't even draw a card, though. It's so miserable. A little better than that,
The reasons that I see for doing it this way is, number 1, it's still awkward for Bunnyhopor. There's not really counterplay available. Number 2, it shuts down Mogu Flesh Shaper possibility by restricting the board position. Number 3, it gives you something to do with High Priest Amet or with the Energy Blade Master next turn, and still gives you draw potential on the other side.
Right. Yeah, I think
He just always finds a better spot.
Well, you'd still... So if he went Psychic, Divine Spirit trade, then Mogu still costs 4 here, and he knows Bunny's overloaded, so it still can't come down. But yeah, the Divine Spirit looked really weird to me. I didn't particularly see the merit of it when you can just do this, just trade and just play a superior minion, just over-contest the board yet again.
There's little time.
Well, there's that Flesh Shaper manipulator. Not quite good enough this turn. Still pretty strong with the way the board is set up. No Bluegill, no Direwolf, no Hogsteed, which would have enabled him to trade down some of the board. Hello. Now we're cooking. No Cleric, though, just yet for Boar.
Wonder what exactly you're cooking here, though.
Now you've got me a lot more interested in this Divine Spirit.
Still got to think about Mogus, though.
Well, it's thinking about Mogus that's kind of got me very interested in the Divine Spirit.
Make it too big.
Yeah.
And just keep pushing past.
Because if you just leave it as a 3/7, sorry, as a what did I say 3/7? That's just not right on any level. If you just leave it, if you just left it as a 4/7, then Mogu Flesh Shaper does kind of contest it alongside just almost any other card from their hand. I don't think Boar's planning around double Flesh Shaper, but that is actually potentially playable next turn.
I just love how pained he is over simple things.
Kind of want a 4/14, yeah. Boar ends up agreeing, but I think you can see all the stewing that Boar went through there, trying to find himself a way out.
Bog Slosher Faceless again?
That draw's kind of nuts, right? Yeah. He gets to pick up the Faceless, replay it as a 3/3, and then still play 2 Flesh Shapers at the end of the turn.
Just mutate? Just trade one over the 2/3, then mutate?
Yeah.
You soften the 4/14?
You are at 28 exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm a bit scared. Do you try to roll a Taunt Totem, maybe?
Okay.
Ah.
I think that's too much opportunity cost, though, in terms of what else you can do with your turn.
Well, the Bog Sloshes do nothing now.
Are you doing this on purpose at this point?
Of course.
Waters are so squishy. Always little time. Fire, burn, and cold.
Oh, you got to soften it now. I mean, the game is guiding you at this point. Give the elemental that you randomly summoned +2 attack from the elemental you randomly evolved into. Or go face and say, you better have it. That was just straight up 2 draws to lose.
2? Wait, what was the other one?
Well, oh, there's only 1 Divine Spirit left.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm crazy.
Yeah.
How else did it get to 14 health, Nathan?
Excellent question,
Well, he healed
other Nathan.
Well, he healed it to full. That was addressing myself in that situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So there would be Nathan and other Nathan in that scenario.
Oh, there's 2 halves of me?
Yeah.
Okay. That
Thanks.
makes sense to me.
Thanks, other Barry.
I wonder.
I understood that reference.
Hey. I'm still curious about this Evil Totem over the Bog Slosher play. Like, does the Bog Slosher Faceless play just not work? Did I just count that completely wrong?
Quickly.
Because it just feels quite a lot better.
It makes some sense to make the Evil Totem to me, because lackeys generate effects that can matter. And I'm thinking specifically like Ethereal Lackey, I'm thinking Titanic Lackey, those things matter a lot.
But it's the cost of 6/6 of extra stats in play. Or 6 damage worth of extra stats in play anyway. It's technically 6/4, I guess, over the totem, but who cares?
Wow. All right, well, I am glad I'm not in Bunnyhopper's spot, and I'm also glad I'm not in BoarControl's spot. I don't feel comfortable for either of them, and this is a game that has grown quite tense very quickly.
Yes. 8 draw.
I'm thinking 8/8 taunt is what you want to see.
I will take 1 Tyrion, please.
Okay.
It's a taunt.
4/4 taunt, you know what? I still feel happy with it. I don't know if that's true.
Trade the 4, go face. A 9. You don't have lethal set up on the following turn.
You could
Can
bounce,
Bog Slosher to change that?
You
Yes,
could bounce to
can.
the Evil Cable Rat. Ah, you could also trade off and make a second taunt as well. Yeah, go face it first. Don't miss the one.
That's important.
Time's getting important too, though. Ah, create your own taunt totem. I think Bunnyhopor may have secured his way out of this one. Just put stuff in the way.
Yeah, I like it too.
That's very clean. Oh, Bog Slosher's an elemental too. I forgot about that. Oh. I mean, almost every draw I think was going to look bad here, but...
Well, there's only 13 in play.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Yep.
I wonder.
It is crazy how much of a difference that Cauldron Elemental has made.
I must consider.
We're really going deep on this one.
I mean, he's got to think about healing self versus healing the minion. If you don't heal the minion, it's vulnerable. If you heal self,
Dark future.
Does this actually play around anything, though?
cuts off Goblin Lackey specifically.
12, 13, okay. Yeah, sure.
At least I think it does anyway.
It does, yeah. It's 15. But you're also just giving up. Like, your Blade Master is now dead on board.
I think BoarControl's pretty happy to see it
It was
attacked.
dead on board before, I guess, but it cost the whole board. All right.
He's
it's
happy to see it
It's
attacked.
really close. Is he?
Yeah, you're dying, and you're not representing killing.
Yeah, you are. You draw silence next turn. You win the game. Not against this Titanic lackey, but from the position he was in.
I think with Bonsomni in your hand, if your opponent kills your Blade Master, you windmill slam that on the table and you fist pump.
Okay.
I wonder.
When my minions don't have taunt and they get attacked, I am thrilled to the teeth with that. Boar's not thrilled because I believe he knows that's not going to happen. Now, Ahmet, that'd be a different case. And I think Bunnyhopper's recognizing this as an opportunity to capitalize, saying, I don't have to trade up too much. I get to kill Ahmet and I get to kill this, and they still preserve damage in play. That's the best of both worlds.
Now, this is why my mind says that you are not happy if that thing gets killed, because I don't understand how you're going to then, what, outvalue Shaman from that position? Like, that's not happening. You had to kill them with the one big thing you made this game.
I'll draw some cards and try to do something.
Yeah.
Wild Pyromancer is still there, but you don't have a spell to add with it. A lot of things got to go right for BoarControl.
And like cards at the table, it's all fairly much of a muchness at this point, because if Boar had healed the minion, he would have died to that Goblin Lackey anyway, so... I guess at the end of the day, the perspective is that, like, if you heal the minion, they're going to generate 2 lackeys off that cable rat you know that they have. So then you have 2 options, right? Like, 2 lackeys are either going to clear your board almost 100% of the time, whether you heal it or not, or end the game by killing you almost 100% of the time, whether you heal it or not. So when you start to phrase it like that, then, yeah, sure, it makes perfect sense.
Honestly, it's just crazy to me that Bunnyhopper's been fighting back by just putting random taunts in the way. Like, is that the weakness of this deck? Like, Stonehill Defender?
Yeah, kind of.
Mulch Muncher shows up for a brief moment.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Nazari.
Whoa, he's just going to kill it. Yeah, right, sure. Sure thing.
Boar needs a miracle.
Is someone injured?
Yeah, Boar is.
The BM silence.
Injured?
Boar is injured. Very injured. Not a good one. Another not a good one.
Unless there's a magical Stormwind Knight and about 6 extra mana in your deck that I don't know about, Boar. I don't think you're finding your way out of this one.
You're dead.
I wonder.
Like, what do you even do? Can you even think of outs? Like
He's-
runner, perfect outs.
He's
at this
just
point? Like,
trying to figure out a way to stay alive. And it's
Yeah,
just not there.
I just don't see it.
You have better.
Nope. That was the way to stay alive right there. You live to fight another day, but not in this game. Crushing victory in the end. Like, Boar just had this kind of meandering, slow hand where he was just playing 3 health minions for the first few turns, and I totally agree with the decision to go all in on the Blade Master. I think the 14 health Blade Master on the turn he made it was very crucial. It's just that Boar had this so explosive double turn with the double Mogu Flesh Shaper after that, which I still have question marks about. Like, I'm starting to doubt myself as if the Faceless and Bog Slosher and double Flesh Shaper math worked out the way that I thought it was. Like, maybe board space was an issue, I'm not sure. Like I've mentioned many times, that board state is gone, so it's immediately deleted from my brain. I can't do it anymore. But if that play was available, like, I do personally feel like that was stronger just because of all the extra stats that you put into play. But Bunny's line still ended up working out perfectly for him. That Bog Slosher then ended up being huge value for him later in that position. So
Yeah.
maybe that line was just better. Anyway.
I think it's just kind of interesting, like, again, that Bunnyhopper's found this deep understanding of, like, a matchup where he's like, put a thing in the way every turn. Put a thing in the way every turn. Like, in matchups that are crucial to connect to you for damage, he's finding ways to just create small miniature objectives that are making turns awkward for the opponent. And albeit he's had powerful hands to do that. But to me, the only way Boar could have impacted that is by playing to the board harder earlier on, which I think was just worse. So from an overhead
How
perspective.
does he do that, though? I feel like he played harder
It would
to
have
the
been the
board.
12-year turn.
which was what?
Like Sidekick and Divine Spirit. I think that's the
so
thing about it is
so
that's such weak from a top-down perspective that if the only way you change the game is by making a worse play, like you did it well.
I hate that play and I don't want to talk about it.
Well, if you could find another way to change it, I'd like to hear it.
Well, so
you just want to call the guy unlucky?
No, and I'm all for like giving the players credit as well, but I think also in that perspective we have to say, like, I don't know whether how much of it was like an actual plan from Bunnyhopor to put a taunt in the way every turn, and how much was it reacting to the hand that he was given, because like he rolled a random taunt off the 8-drop generation, which is absolutely the play to go for, right? Because it's an evolve, you had to go make something happen, and then he just kept being fed Titanic lackeys, right, in that position to keep putting taunts up.
Sure.
It's not like he was doing it on a deliberate purpose, it was just those are the lackeys he was given. I think if the lackeys handed were Kobold lackeys and Rush lackeys the whole time, you would have seen him just destroying board, and it would have been a very different game.
That'd be the Bog Slosher back for the Evil Cabaret then. Yeah. Find Titanic lackeys. Yeah. Roll the totem. Try to roll taunt totems. I mean, he rolled a totem in that game instead of playing a thing. Who does that?
Bunnyhopor.
Guy who's looking for taunts. Yeah. Game 1 in the books over at Bunnyhopor, who's up 1-0 over BoarControl right now. We got to go to a quick break. When we come back, though, we're getting to game number 2 of this set. So don't go anywhere. We got plenty more Hearthstone on deck today.
Darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers, and up from the dusty tombs, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly what to do. There might be magic monsters, mummies in the markets, and ancient mysticism. But this league's gonna save the world.
My name is Sam Braithwaite, and I'm the Senior Global Franchise Lead for Hearthstone Esports. This event was especially cool because it takes place right after the brand new expansion, Rise of Shadows. Historically in Hearthstone Esports, we do our big events like this towards the end of an expansion cycle, but we really wanted to shake things up and really showcase that not only is the world champion the person who can pilot the best decks, but also the person who, when presented with a brand new game, can put together the best decks leading into the World Championship. Cheers to you guys, the sold-out crowd here for the HCT 2019 World Championship.
Welcome back to 2019 HCT World Championship.
We've had a lot of fun games, and we're looking forward to the grand finals. Showdown. Viper versus Hunter Race. Only one can be the champion. Oh, come on!
Alex, you must be dead.
Whack will pick a Vis coming out from Hunter Race.
It's now or never. Archvillain reform.
Okay! In a completely solved game, Hunter Race finds a way to maximize his chances. It's been a wonderful journey throughout the past few years of the Hearthstone Championship Tour, where stars were made and dreams came true.
It's Hearthstone Grandmasters for Europe, and we are amidst our third match of the day. I'm Nathan, that's Admirable Zamora, joined by Simon Soddles Welch. Why
You
do I keep
almost did
saying
it
Melch?
again! My name is not Melch.
Why do
Get it through your head.
Why does my brain... It's flipping the W upside down. I don't know why it's doing that. I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry.
This gesture that you make to illustrate that.
I apologies. Soddle, please host us. Go.
Game number 2 between Bunnyhopor and BoarControl. We just saw a matchup kind of get flipped on its head where Priest did fail to kind of get the gas needed. Explosive turn from Bunnyhopor took over the game, but we now have game number 2. Boar has to reset, and I'm still waiting, Admirable Analyst in this role, for Mali Druid to come into the equation because it's the one thing that we're really looking out for.
I got good news for you then. Soddle. Melch. I apologies for this. Druid's going to be in play here for Bunnyhopor. He's going with it. Malikos Druid has stormed into the European region with a number of players going with this deck, and I am curious about how this matchup goes. This is one of the ones that we didn't get to. I think I'm probably just in the same camp where it's probably still just Mega Priest favored. I am so dumb.
You are really making a mess of this, aren't you? I'm sorry. I have to laugh. It's all I can do.
Put my deck lists back in the right order.
Bunnyhopor is playing regular Druid. Admirable. BoarControl is the Mali Druid player, and he's just back on Priest.
I'm fired. I'm fired myself.
Well,
take it away, Soddle.
Dream Team's back together next week, being brought to you by Soddle and Raven casting EU.
You said Dream Team.
Good point.
Yeah.
Soddle and TJ casting EU.
I'm not going to say you said Dream Team again. I just said it, though. Dang it!
All right. Do you need a moment? Are you good? Can we cast some Hearthstone?
I think I've actually reset now. Okay, so everything's in the right order. My BoarControl deck lists are on the left, which is the top side. Bunny's on the right, which is the bottom side.
Yep.
Everything now finally in order. Regular Quest Druid for Bunnyhopor.
Normie Druid.
Oh.
Does he have Normie in his Normie Druid?
Yes, Chef Normie.
Chef Normie, okay.
Yeah. Just makes normal minions.
Yep.
Just a bunch of 6/6s. How did I blunder that much in one short
It was
span?
honestly quite impressive. But it just kept going. It got quite impressive. I'm impressed.
It wasn't an accident.
Got you, friend.
I just done messed up.
Wait, so it was an accident?
Correct. It was an accident.
Okay,
I did not do it on purpose, which is normally why I sound dumb.
Excellent. All right.
That's twice I've admitted I'm wrong now.
I would be amazed if even you managed to get through that one without admitting you were wrong.
2-1 Soddle.
Whew. Pulling ahead. Pretty straightforward matchup from the Priest side. Just get as much health into play as you can as quickly as possible.
Well,
and then try and turn them into big minions.
I feel like Boar's not really happy about this, though.
No, I mean, when I say straightforward matchup, that's in terms of the game plan that you're looking to execute. You still sometimes get handed really terrible hands like this.
My gosh, look at Bunnyhopor's hand.
I am.
It's so good.
It's very strong.
Like, if he doesn't die in the next 2 turns, it's going to be really tough for Boar to win.
Yep, he completes this turn and on turn 4, and then he has 10 points of rush coming into play, followed by gain 2 mana, draw 3 cards, drop 2 3/5 taunts into play the turn after. Excellent noise. Really enjoyed that one.
How do you beat that?
Well,
You start drawing Divine Spirits and Interfires.
yeah, your aim is to kind of have a 10-10 in play before you get to that point. Then their 5/5 rush looks a lot less impressive.
All right, slam the Ahmet. And we draw Northshire Cleric, so possibilities.
Yep.
I'm thinking Wild Pyromancer next turn.
Ooh, I think an I just came out from Bunnyhopor. God, I just broke chat, didn't I? Whoops.
I mean, Ahmet sees a dark future,
Yep.
so that would be one of them.
Now, suddenly, when there is going to be upwards of 20 points of health on board, the 5/5 rush looks a lot less exciting.
Yeah. That's the thing about Priest, is almost regardless how garbage its hand is, there's always like some draw that completely changes that.
Yeah, And like Priest versus Druid specifically, like they're so linear in what they do through their first 5 to 6 turns that you can just manipulate that so easily with so many different draws with Priest.
Big turn for BoarControl coming up. He's braced for it.
There's Bunny just not dealing damage here. He
Playing
doesn't
for the
want to
worst.
give anything over to Light Wardens, potentially even by just hero powering face. Yep. Not happy. Any minion. Any minion. That's all he wanted. He might even just have played a Psycho Bomb this turn with nothing dead. Just for a 3/7.
3/7? Yeah, I'll play that. Heck yeah.
Yep. No Divine Spirit. No minion. It's about as bad as it gets. He's going to lose his Armet this turn.
Unless he plays the Northshire.
I must consider.
Then you lose the Northshire. You think Bunny's going to kill the Ahmed over the Northshire? The Ahmed's not the reason the deck's broken. It's the Northshire.
Is someone injured?
You raise a good point.
I'm willing to make this a 2-point count on whether or not he kills the Northshire or the Ahmed. You could be ahead 4-1.
No, I'm not sold. I don't have a strong opinion to disagree with you.
I'll take my tie score.
Whoa, hold up! You're just making up these rules as you go along
Yes,
now.
that is the idea.
Can I get a point for you making up the rules?
I could make that a rule.
Yeah.
Maybe next week.
It's not really in your interests to do so.
Okay,
though,
I'll make it half a point. How about that?
Sweet.
Okay. Just immediately text the Ahmed. I'm like, that's right, 2.5 to 1. Was Innervate Nourish a push?
Yes.
Okay. Unreal. That's a bad choice in my opinion. I think he's going to lose the game because of that.
I actually also disagree with that now.
Yeah.
But I think, like, you know from the previous turn, it's just like a hand read thing, right? Like, you know from the previous turn that it's not just a handful of minions that Boar can just play. So if there was a Psycho Pomp, which is about the only minion that BoarControl might not have played, he now just gets an Armet back from his Psycho Pomp. But also, I think he's more likely to have dead cards like Circle of Healing in his hand than he is cards, like just minions that he can play alongside Armet. Maybe it's influenced by just how likely they are to draw a minion on that point. Like, I don't know. I will say that, like, right at the start of the turn, when you said, oh, if you play the Cleric, then the Armet lives, my initial instinct was, no, you still kill the Armet. And I had to think about it, like, a lot more and look at the hands to decide that, no, I'd rather kill the Cleric. So I think it's, like, close. But
Why not kill the Cleric?
Long story short,
this is ridiculous.
Long story short, yes, BoarControl just drew 5 cards this turn and now has a Psycho Pomp which has an Armet inside it in his hand.
The end begins. I see a dark future.
Full tempo, the most Boar can do here in terms of tempo this turn. Double silence, just cutting down the Oasis Surges. Now, Oasis Surger number 2 does not even remove this Armet from the board. He'd have to innovate Wrath with it, and then he can get the job done. And then there's still the Cleric.
Yeah, I think the difference is if the Ahmet gets Psychopomped, Bunnyhopper's looking at ways that he can still recover. If it's the Northshire Cleric that gets Psychopomped with an Ahmet in play, you're almost never getting out of it. That's what I think his idea is.
Okay, yeah, that's a compelling argument. I'm into that.
I just don't think that that's feasible. Like, that to me just doesn't sound like it's happening ever.
Sure.
Like, they can get Psychopomp when they have Northshire. They have to have Psychopomp when they don't.
Yeah, they have to have Psychopomp and not have played it as a 3/7 on the previous turn, which I'm not 100% sold you'd end up doing.
And now because BoarControl's drawn so many cards, you're looking at Wild Pyromancer being insane, now there's Circle of Healing being insane. Just the whole deck becomes insane now. They had a Northshire Cleric.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. You gave it to him. It was free. I'd like to hear more explanation. It's a lot more complicated than I've made it sound. But I think in this situation, just keep it simple. And so now, Boar, capitalize. Make the most of it.
Yeah, and the Pyro extra arms here is pretty dang effective in terms of making the most of it.
Out of Surgers. You're thinking about 2 worthy expedition that are on Bunnyhopper's side. Starfall.
Yeah, Starfall, second Wrath, swipe. A lot of things to play around. I think 5 health on the Cleric is fine. I think that was probably the worst of the heals to take the Cleric from 1 to 7 in that spot.
Bunnyhopper's found some strong game against us, though.
Yeah.
You know, you look deeper into the turns and see how the trades work out. Oasis Surger's cutting to the board a massive amount. And the 2 Anubis are trying to keep pressure on that Northshire Cleric. Board needs more.
How about 3 Anubis apps?
Yeah, that works. Goodness, I'm going to end up eating my words here.
Well, I mean, important note that just because a play wins the game doesn't mean it was right. Just because a play loses the game, on the inverse of that, doesn't mean that it was wrong. It's about percentages. It's about averages.
I'm trying to make things dramatic here.
I wonder.
I'm trying to stick up for my boy.
Okay, fair enough.
Does seem like this is going to be a tough wall for Boar to break from this position, though.
You're running out of time, too. I mean, an extra draw could change everything.
Yep. And I guess the good news is, if Bunny does take this down from here, hey, we can just ask the man himself what his thought process was on that turn. We can stop theorizing. We can stop speculating. We can stop analyzing. We can just ask him what was going on.
Oh, that is weak. Yeah, I think
super
you're
weak.
Pitching off your Cleric. Do you top seat this turn? Straight off?
Hey, I got you, friend.
With the Armet gone as well, like the 1-drops become significantly less powerful. And now if this 7-9 gets chopped through, that might just be Boar's gas out at this point. He'd have to Psycho Pump his Armet back at that point, maybe.
Couldn't you just Ferris here and trade?
What to do?
You can. It's a legal Hearthstone play.
Scenarios as well?
I'm not sure if I want to. Yeah, I'm like Scenarios more. Ferris is scary, right? Because there's still a Circle of Healing. There's still Nephicet Ritualists remaining for Boar. So suddenly you're in like full heal, Divine Spirit, Inner Fire territory. Really messing you up, potentially.
It's kind of why I like the Ferris. If that happens, you follow up with Scenarios. Use the extra stuff to cut down when Boar's done. Those silences are gone.
That happens.
What in the world? That little 2-2 showed up twice now.
Less about the 2-2, more about the 6-7 and the 3-12.
That's why you played King Ferris. Get big stuff. Not a second Wild Pyro. No immediate card draw. Bunnyhopor flipped this game on its head. Left the Northshire there. Boar just didn't draw. He didn't draw the synergy cards to really keep chaining that together.
Right.
How did that happen? How does Bunnyhopor break all the rules of every matchup? I don't understand.
I mean, double Oasis Surger, Nourish, double 0-mana taunt.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, his hand was insane.
That was the first thing we reacted to before Boar had his huge turns. We were just like, this is nuts. Like, how do you beat this hand? Boar struggled to do so. And that one turn where he just couldn't get enough stats in play alongside the Armet really cost him. And then the big decision point for Bunnyhopor, which minion he chose to kill, Cleric or Armet. And it's certainly looking like we're going to get to ask him that big question.
Quickly.
Curious if it didn't even matter.
Oh, it always matters. Everything.
I mean, an outcome.
Sure.
Oh boy.
Five, 8, 11, 13, 19 on board, plus 10. Is that right? 8, 11, 13, 19, plus 10. And he's one off lethal this turn, I believe, with scenarios.
What happens if you trade first? The 2/2 off.
Oh! What does that give? Plus 2, plus 2?
To 2 minions.
So that gives you plus 4, so you'd then have 5, 8, 11, 17, 21, 29. Still one off. Yeah, you lose 4 to gain 4 because the 2/2 would have been a 4 attack. What? Yeah, makes sense.
Get an extra taunt in the way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you just do it. I started looking at crazy things like that. Do you have lethal with like swipe face, starfall your own minion? No, you don't. This is game. Just do what you want at this point. Kill the 18-16, that wins.
Honestly, that to me is if you kill the 18-16 and you can trade stuff off, like, that's the win to me. I mean, as it stands right now, it has to be a wild Pyromancer chain. And that's been shut off now.
Yes.
Like, Boar's hand would have to be literally perfect alongside a wild Pyromancer, and it's not. Bunnyhopor, 2-0. Boar gives the double thumbs down.
Not just one thumbs down, 2 of them.
Yeah. Boar wishes he had 4 hands so he could give that series 4 thumbs down.
He should have cast extra arms.
Needed even more. Didn't work. Bunnyhopor, 2-0 over BoarControl that one. And boy, do I look weird after calling that a mistake because he just made work of it. I did call out that his hand was nuts, which it was.
Yeah.
But I still think that giving over the opportunity, it looks strange to me. So I'm very glad we get to ask about that.
Yeah, and again, like calling out a player as a point of order and like, oh, let's talk about this. Like maybe this was better, maybe it was worse, maybe you do this differently. Like it will have an influence on whether the game is won or lost, but that doesn't dictate whether the play was right or wrong. That's what makes Hearthstone so interesting. It's what makes Hearthstone so hard to learn, because sometimes you're just doing the right thing and you're losing a game. And so you feel like you have to change something.
Yeah.
But you were doing the right thing. Sometimes you're doing the wrong thing and you're winning the game. So you feel like everything's great and you're the best player in the world and you don't have to change anything.
So your deep line feedback doesn't always have immediate feedback on that.
Exactly.
It takes time to figure out.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're going to have Bunnyhopor here for an interview momentarily. But in the meantime, you know, this is week after week, he's continued to best unfavorable matchups from his positions. And that, to me, has been one of the most interesting talking points for him, is that he keeps winning, like, Shaman versus something matchups where something isn't favored. And this one, he did it again, Shaman versus Priest. Like, that's thought to be one of the worst matchups.
He just 2-0'd Priest this series. Like, I did not think we would be seing that coming into this week. Didn't think it was going to happen.
Well, let's talk to the man himself. Bunnyhopor, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Hello, and congratulations on that win. I want to talk immediately about game number 2. And the trade on Northshire Cleric, which at 1-7, or the High Priest Amet at 2-7. Talk to me about that play that turn and what's going through your head on which minion you should trade off.
It's quite interesting. I think, like, okay, so killing the Cleric basically eliminates all the stuff where he has, where he just has Circle of Healing and then a bunch of nothing. But I think, like, even if he goes Circle of Healing and then redevelops a big board, because I have 2 taunts in my hand, even if he makes 1 big minion, if I manage to somehow control the board, if I can go Nourish and then play both my taunts, maybe even a third, maybe find a Loti, something like that, I can isolate the threats. Whereas when I don't kill the Amet, if he just plays the Psychopomp or like any just assortment of minions that he top decks, but most importantly Psychopomp, I don't see how I ever get back in this game. I think you also saw on the turn after, even though he did have the Psychopomp for the like Resurrect and a bunch of Punish with Circle of Healing, I think. Like if I have Starfall that turn, if I top deck it, I'm in a decent spot, and I think I can wrestle for the board as long as he doesn't just make a bunch of 2/7 minions, because I can never clear them until I find Zephyrus, and I won't have him active turn 5.
So I guess my follow-up question is, how much is that is influenced by your hand, and how much is that is influenced by the matchup that's taking place?
Like, it was mostly influenced by the matchup, but because just Ahmed is so impossible to beat. Like, just I can totally see him having a Psycho Pump in hand and not playing it last turn because it's just a 3/7 and doesn't revive anything.
Right.
And when it revives a Cleric, well, that's bad for me because he can draw cards. But when it revives, with Ahmed on board, reviving Cleric, it's a complete disaster. The game just, I think, kind of ends there. Whereas if he has Cleric on board and revives Ahmed, that's still bad, but I have some counterplay because I can even play more rushers potentially or Starfall.
Wow, that's really. I apologize then. I called that a mistake, and I think it's well thought out of wrestling it back.
We had a fight, Bunny. You missed it. Don't worry about it. So if I want to ask specifically about Malagos Druid on BoarControl side, because we've been focusing on it quite heavily. Do you have any interesting findings from like any testing you did against Mali Druid, just in terms of matchups or whatever? And did that influence your Protect Druid at all in the series?
I think it gets crushed by the Druid that we have.
Okay.
But I think it's incredibly good against Warrior. It's really, really good. I can't understate that. And it just, I think it's if you expect your opponent to have a Warrior or something like that, it's a really good bring. Yeah, but in testing, I don't know. Like, supposedly my Shaman is unfavored against everything, but I keep on winning with it on ladder, in practice, and in this format. So I don't know. Maybe I'm getting lucky. Maybe the stats are not quite accurate.
Quest Shaman, best Shaman.
Maybe you're just the best. Did you ever consider that?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
There are other people better than me.
Fair enough.
Who's better than you?
No. I used to say like Hunter Ace for sure, but I think we had that discussion last year going into the World
Championships, right?
But you said people. That's one person.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of other people who are absolutely on the same level. Like, there's a lot of really good other players, right? Even in our division, this is so stacked.
Gotcha. So there's one person better. There are multiple people equal.
There's so many people. Like, Boar's like really good right now. Casey's really good right now. And then like also other people in our division. Like, I mean, Pavel started playing again, and he looks much better than last season. Our division is so difficult. Fino made it to BlizzCon. Like, come on, everybody's so good in this group.
So I want to talk about your record then in contrast to that, because I think that it's been expressed a lot in Grandmasters is this particular division being so stacked and being by far the toughest group, I think, of any group that any Grandmasters are having to fight through right now. You're sitting up there with Jarla right now at 5-2. Like, you guys are neck and neck. Do you feel like that this lead was built because of, you know, whatever factor? Like, talk to me about this record in contrast to everybody else's. How are you still finding the edge over everyone?
I felt like in the first weeks I had a little bit of an edge in terms of lineup preparation against some people, where they just skewed the matchup into me where they thought that was favored, and I practiced it and was definitely not favored. But I also have to say, for example, against Boston, week 1, I got outbanned. In terms of lineup, he just outplayed me that week.
Wow.
But I felt like later, I felt pretty confident about the lineup that we kept on bringing and the odds that we kept on getting.
Fair enough. I think can't really follow that up, so we will let you go, Bunny. Have a good rest of your day, and we will speak to you later in the week.
Thanks.
That's how confident I am that he's going to win again.
I was just about to say.
We just that one was deliberate. I've done that by accident before. That one was deliberate.
He just does everything.
Yeah. Genuinely, like, you know, I kind of asked that as a troll question. Like, maybe you're just the best. Have you considered that? Like, I think he might be. Like, genuinely. I think there's 5 to 10 players that you can have that argument about. I think most people would default to Hunter Ace because it's hard. It's hardest to make a case against Hunter Ace. You can make a really good case for a whole bunch of players, but to counteract the idea that Hunter Ace is the best player in the world is the hardest to do. But for me, Bunnyhopor is right the way up there as well.
Look, he said people, and then he named one person, and then he said there were people that were equal.
Yeah.
So I think it's giving you an idea of where he sits as well. Bunny is always open, and he's always honest, and he will tell it like it is. He's also German, so you know that's true.